I'm Matt at Nexus Baseball, and this is episode 43 of the Tommy John Epidemic. This series is a YouTube read of content from the book Plague of the Gods, an outsider's perspective on baseball's Tommy John Epidemic, which is available now on Amazon. I decided to put this content on YouTube to make the material as accessible as possible. This series examines the science behind the most superhuman action the human body can produce, accelerating a baseball up to 100 miles per hour. When the ball is coming out of the hand, the last finger to make contact for maximum velocity should be the middle finger. This is due to its maximum length and strength in the hand. To achieve this properly, the middle finger should always directly bisect the baseball to prevent wasted side spin on the fastball, unless this is the intended effect to create movement. When throwing a running fastball, for example, the hand holds the ball off-center to translate the grip into cross or sideways spin so that the ball will move laterally. On the curveball, the middle finger is in front of the baseball at release to create forward spin instead of backspin and have the ball drop more quickly than gravity would allow. The slider is in between these two pitches with both top and side spin. This creates a ball that drops or breaks more quickly than gravity, but also runs laterally away from the batter of the same handedness. The changeup is an interesting pitch with many variations that illustrates the concepts presented perfectly. The goal of the changeup is to look like a fastball, but with a reduction in speed to have the hitter mistime their swing. This is accomplished by both making more contact with the fingers and holding the ball deeper in the hand away from the apex. This will result in a significantly slower baseball and can be enhanced by relaxing the throwing fingers, allowing the ball to roll off straight rather than curved fingers. By increasing the grip strength, a pitcher can have the ball fly true, or by relaxing the grip, have it drop closer to the speed of gravity. Advanced technique also has it roll out of the hand due to early pronation without the ring and little fingers as stabilizers, as in the circle changeup, causing a slight side spin in the reverse direction of the slider, perfect for use against batters of the opposite handedness. Throughout this breakdown of the kinetic chain, it is important again to emphasize that balance is the key component that will allow for the optimal transfer of kinetic energy from one stage to the other. Balance is a factor of muscular control and strength, so the pitcher must be strong enough to easily support their postures through the motion, as well as be trained to use personal cues to move the right muscles in the right sequence. This process can be assisted using timing and tempo, as sequencing complex athletic motions is always easier if the athlete can maintain their rhythm. It is possible to speed up or slow down the motion, as well as introduce pauses at leg lift, for example. But these are complex techniques that can reduce balance and throw a pitcher out of the cadence of their delivery as much as it can throw off the timing of the hitter. A perfect touchstone of a correctly executed pitching delivery is if the motion is paused at the moment of front foot strike, the front hip would be open and the back hip driving forward, with the pelvis facing perpendicular to the plate, the belt buckle to first or third base side depending on handedness. At the same time, the sternum, or the middle of the chest, should be facing perpendicular to the plate as well, with the arm in the cocked position. If you look at the freeze frame of almost every Hall of Fame pitcher, you will see they look almost identical at this point, with the only variations being the placement of the front arm. This isn't a position to go to and hold, but a landmark in slow motion viewing to ensure correct timing, to make sure the arm is in position to be driven by the hips, serratus, and rotators. Although the goal is not to emulate an ideal model, due to the massive variations in body type, balance, strengths, strategy, etc., there are pitchers that utilize the correct kinetic chain safely and with great efficiency. The perfect example of this is the pitching mechanics of Nationals pitcher Max Scherzer, a pitcher who, by observing, I was able to make several key observations regarding timing and cueing. Scherzer utilizes a very balanced delivery with great repeatability and a strong but under control hip drive that allows a great serratus anterior stretch. To ensure stability, he focuses on lat release by the overhead pump before maintaining strong core posture stability to keep his posture and ensure serratus function. This allows him to time his arm motion to be at or near full cock consistently into a soft foot strike, to avoid yanking. There are no pauses in his motion, but an execution with a fluid, whip-like tempo. He utilizes his forearm muscles perfectly to pull back on the ball with a tucked thumb. Into load and release, the ball is laid back to assist the rotators and the ball is launched out of the hand on the fastball at the apex of the motion with a very high spin rate. Scherzer also understands his own body and can make on-the-mound adjustments by going through his mental cues to detect deviations. He paces himself by minimizing stress on the rotator and elbow by keeping the elbow at slightly less than maximum height in a supported position. This allows him to sit at 92 to 94 miles per hour on the fastball in low leverage situations and let his great spin rate on the fastball and his tremendous secondary pitches get outs. When he faces a challenging batter or spot where he needs a strikeout, he can dial up his velocity. Scherzer can hit 96 to 99 miles per hour by having the elbow up a little higher pre-cock and less supported. This delays external rotation and cock just slightly to give the rotator a longer time over which to have energy transferred. He often gives it an extra grunt to drive the serratus as powerfully as possible while still balancing the hips. This less supported position is harder to balance and presents more opportunity for the arm to become imbalanced, but he trusts his great arm muscle supports and athleticism to protect himself. Inherently though, he understands that the more you play with fire, the more likely you are to get burned, and so he clearly eschews constant max effort throwing when it is not required in favor of a smart approach that maximizes effectiveness while maintaining safety. It is particularly this approach that should be lauded, as rather than throwing with maximum effort and utilizing dangerous velocity cheats, such as pulling down with the lats or ball hooking, he does so with muscular control, high-level mobility, and intelligent timing. This framework of proper mechanics provides guidelines or best practices of how the pitching motion should be completed safely. The goal is to provide a universally applicable baseline of efficiency and safety from which a pitcher can evolve their own style. There isn't a single ideal motion for pitching because the goal of pitching, again, isn't to throw the ball as hard and straight as possible, but instead create disruption of hitter timing and deception on each pitch by hiding the ball and creating movement. A very safe and effective modern pitcher might do several things the older generation of pitching coaches would have disliked: throwing from the stretch on every pitch, an unequal front arm, etc. This is fine so long as the pitcher can balance the hips and rotate them freely and explosively, reach the landmark position at cock, maintain core stability to allow the serratus to stretch, have proper mobility to lay back fluidly after foot strike, and finally protect the UCL with the forearm muscles and through a balanced arm path. Join me for episode 44 next week. Remember, if you like the content, please like and subscribe. Your support makes this work possible. Also, if you want to jump ahead, please consider picking up the book on Amazon from the link in the description below. See you next week.